It is Wednesday, my dudes, and you know what that means? It is time once again to revisit Adventure Woods, Planet Coaster series, in which I build a theme park called Adventure Woods and upload those videos to YouTube. And the number of episodes left is very limited. What are we on now? Episode 18, and if all goes to plan, episode 20 will be the final one, and that's going to be just the park tour. So really, when it comes to building stuff and building the theme park, it's this episode and next episode, and that's it. Luckily, today's episode is kind of a long one, so you can savor the moment a bit. In fact, actually, I, until the last minute, was going to have episode 18 and episode 19 be just one video. But that would have been a lot. It would have been about 55 minutes. And I know I've done videos in this series that are that length, but it would have been a bit... I was trying to be mindful of what the thumbnail and title and what the overall subject of the video was going to be. And in this video, about the halfway point was when that big long hypothetical video shifted focus. So the first half, so what eventually became this video here, it was the construction of the Park Hotel. And then the second half, well, I don't want to spoil things now, do I? But it was something else entirely. So I thought, let's just split it in two. In this episode, we're going to build the Park Hotel, as mentioned, and also the transit that will take guests from the theme park's entrance, like where the car park is, to the hotel itself. And I'm really happy with how that turned out, actually. That was like a big project in its own right. So look forward to all of that. I'm super proud, guys, of how this hotel turned out. I find that hotels are like one of the more difficult things to build in Planet Coaster because hotels, by nature, are big, boxy buildings. But it's quite hard to build a big boxy building in Planet Coaster that isn't just this big, flat, featureless monolith, basically. So there are some great examples of hotels on the Steam Workshop, but I didn't really like the look of any of them. And also, well, I liked the look of them, but they weren't quite what I wanted for this park. And also, I kind of wanted to have everything in this. And this has been the case with all of mine as well. Because I'm a massive narcissist, of course, I kind of wanted every building of the theme park to be custom and built by myself. So I could say it was solely done by me. There's no theme maker's toolkit for any building. It's all in the stock game plus DLC. No other contributing artists worked on this project. So that's what I set out to do. When I say that, but I guess there was a contributing artist to this episode, and for many episodes, in fact, in that this building is not an original creation. What? I based this on a real hotel. When it comes to building hotels in Planet Coaster, well, any building, it's very common practice, not just for myself, but I think for many players, to Google the building that you want. So say, for example, you wanted to build a Turkish restaurant. You could just Google Turkish restaurant and go on images and see what examples come up with and find a design that you like. Hotels is a bit more tricky because a lot of hotels in a city would just be a big city block that wouldn't really work well as a standalone building, which is what Planet Coaster hotels are. They're standalone. So then you type in like theme park hotel building, and then a lot of them I've never found one that I liked the look of. Like they are just big, bland, featureless buildings, and they're really boring to build and not very exciting to look at. So I kind of wanted a building that was nice aesthetically, but also... that was it, but also worked well as a standalone building that wasn't connected to anything. That was just be like an isolated thing, because that's usually what my Planet Coaster hotels are. They're isolated, they're in the hills, looking over the park. I really like the hotel that I built for Velocity Lake. That was sitting on a hill overlooking the theme park. It was this big modern, paneling and glass building, and it was really cool, but I didn't want to just build the same sort of building again, so I wanted to go for something slightly more rustic. So one kind of hotel that I think works really well for the sort of hotels that I like to build is country clubs. So country clubs, hotels like golf hotels, rich person hotels, basically. They work really well because they're in the middle of a field overlooking a golf course, typically, and they overlook a golf course. They've generally got good, nice big rooms, nice big balconies. They're good things to base buildings on. Now, before I get into that, one thing I nearly based the hotel on, like I actually started building the building, was a hotel at Blackpool. The Boulevard, I think, was the hotel. That's a really nice sort of modern building. And if you just Google the Boulevard Hotel at Blackpool, you can kind of see how it would be possible to build it in Planet Coaster. Like, it's got very distinct textures that can be broken up quite nicely using Planet Coaster's build methods. But I started building it and I was like, this is actually a bit harder than I thought it was going to be. So then I went back to, and I also it's a bit of a weird shape because it's built, like I say, in a very dense built up area on the coast, and it really hugs the curvature of a roller coaster at the Blackpool Pleasure Beach. So it's kind of like an awkward shape. If I just built this as a standalone hotel without anything around it, it would just look a bit weird. And so I tried adapting the design to something that would work better as standalone, and then the architectural style I felt didn't really work quite so well. So I went back to the drawing board and built this. Well, I'm still building it. Usually I spend such a long time describing the building I'm about to build. I have just finished building it by the time I get to talk about it, and I've got to speed up now because I have very nearly finished building it. So let's get to it. This is based on the Lingfield Park Marriott Hotel and Country Club, which is in Lingfield, I think, in the UK. That would make sense, right, if it's called the Lingfield Hotel. It's a very small village, a civil parish in the Tandridge district of Surrey, England. Surrey is quite a affluent area, so it makes sense to got a lot of golf hotels there. I say this because I actually preemptively, I finally learned 18 episodes in to have the correct Google Chrome tab open on my second screen, so I can just immediately refer to things as and when I need to. Now, I'm sure at some point I'm going to think of something I need to talk about in this series, in this episode, and then I panic and have to frantically Google something, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And speaking of bridges, I'm building a bridge. This doesn't stay. Don't worry. I know it's very ugly, but this was something I considered having for transporting guests to and from the hotel area to the main car park area of the theme park. And it's this. It's the People Mover that's based on the People Mover at Tomorrowland at Disney. And I like the idea of it. It's very overbuilt. I wish there was like another monorail type in Planet Coaster, like a smaller monorail. The kind you get in, I think Planet Zoo has got a very small monorail, though I don't remember, so don't quote me on that. But I wish there was like a small, like in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, had a couple of different kinds of monorail. There was the suspended monorail, the monorail that looks like the one in Planet Coaster, and there's like a mini monorail that's very typical in small theme parks and zoos. It would have been great for transporting guests to and from the hotel, but it wasn't to be, so instead I played around with People Mover, but I just didn't like the aesthetic of it. Maybe in another life I can come up with something. I think maybe like having a subterranean People Mover would be quite cool, but I couldn't, because it has to cross a body of water. It wouldn't have really worked. But maybe in the next theme park, if and when I ever build one, but I could consider something else. Indeed, for Velocity Lake, I had just another monorail. Like the monorail interchange at the entrance of Velocity Lake was massive. There was a monorail that went off the map to, ferry hypothetical guests to and from the park to hide the fact that there was a guest spawner in the monorail station building. And there was another monorail entirely that just took guests from that very same station to the hotel. But I quite liked the small station of this park, and I don't know, I just didn't want another monorail cluttering the map. So here we are, building a not People Mover, I think it's called the Backlot Tour ride. You guys know it. It's like from the Hollywood Backstage tour that's found at Universal Studios. That's the ride I've done here, and I've sort of sunk it underneath the path. When I say path, it's a wide path that's sort of playing a road. So that's what I've built here. Took a bit of finesse to get it to connect at the end, which is a bit annoying, but it worked out in the end. I will have to mask it off a bit in the main car park. The main car park is a mixture of pathway and painted ground, and part of the painted ground doesn't cover the track, right? As you can see, when it's on the grass, it's not covered. And this bit here that you can see that's exposed is painted ground. So I have to go and build a path over this, which then meant I couldn't just place a path down like I thought I'd be able to. Planet Coaster wouldn't let me because it's saying, oh, there's a ride in the way, you can't place a path there. And I'm like, oh, Planet Coaster, my beloved, please. So then I had to delete some of the track, placed the path down, I had to rebuild the track, and it took ages to connect. And it was a huge thing, but I got it sorted in the end. Don't worry, guys. Hence how you're able to watch this video right now. And I didn't just go insane and get checked into a mental asylum, and this series got retired to the vaults of things that never happened. Oddly specific and terrifying summary there. But there you are. There's the layout of the People Moving. I shouldn't call it the People Mover, should I? But that's what it is, right? It moves people, but the People Mover is a very specific ride in this game and also in real life. So there we are. That's the basic skeleton of everything I need to built, right? We've got the transportation ride there. We've got the main hotel built, but it looks a bit naff, right? First of all, this looks terrible because it's not finished. It's clipping through fences and walls and hedges, etc. So we need to build a dedicated entrance and exit for both this station that I'm working on here and the station that's by the hotel to nicely integrate it to the roadway. You might have also seen there's kind of a big tarmac area by the hotel that looks terrible because it's just a complete featureless tarmac area. But enough about Houston, Texas. I'm talking about the... What a joke, eh? But yeah, I'm gonna like dress it up, make it look like a nice theme park with actual painted lines on the ground and make it look actually realistic. But for now, that is gonna happen later on in this episode. That's just gonna be something else that happens. And also just like adding some nature and stuff. And we're gonna be running a custom ride sign in Photoshop for the shuttle bus. And I don't know. I liked it at the time, but then when I was editing this footage together, I was like, really? That was what I came up with? That looks terrible. But maybe you'll be the judge. It's probably going to be somewhere in between those two extremes, I would have thought, for most people watching. But you guys be the eternal judges that you be. Now I'm just sort of making this look like a road. And yes, you can see that the cars are driving on the left, and the road layout of the roads that I've built thus far, when there's arrows on the road, you can see that the drivers here all drive on the left. And that is because, of course, this park is set on Christmas Island. What a twist this entire time. We thought this was in the UK. Wrong. It was set in Christmas Island, an Australian territory in the Indian Ocean, lying south of Java, Indonesia. Yes, this is one of the tabs I opened just as in case I needed to have a funny gag, and I don't think it was that funny. So yeah, no, this is set in England for what it's worth. We don't like, I don't like foreigners, all right? I don't want to go abroad. I don't want to have exposed to other cultures. That was all a parody, by the way. Please don't take my advertising revenue again. Yeah, this is set in England. Moving along from that terrible whatever it was. Set in England. So we drive on the left, the correct side of the road, even though most of the world drive on the right. You Americans are always saying Imperial is the correct unit, even though it's just you and like one other country that I didn't prepare this bit. So yeah, we use metric. You guys use hamburgers. It's just one is correct, one is not. Who's to be the judge? But let's just say that the majority should not necessarily be the correct version. Driving on the left is, I'm stating it right now on the record, official stance based, that driving on the left is the best. Actually, it's probably not. I bet our cars are more expensive comparatively because we have to have the driving seat on the right, and most models of cars, they have to build it for like America and other countries, so the driving seat is on the left, not the right. So maybe that drives up our car prices. Maybe it is inferior. Oh my god, I'm having an existential crisis. Took me long enough, didn't it? Maybe I should just scream for the rest of this. This can just be the screaming episode from now on. Lord knows I've got to fill it with something because we're not really that far into the video, are we? Where are we now? We're just at 12 and a half minutes into a half an hour-ish long video. So yeah, strap in, buckaroos. We've got some ground to cover, and that was actually an apt description of what's going to come, because it's going to be covering the ground. So we literally have ground to cover, and we have metaphorical ground to cover. When I say ground to cover, I mean adding road markings, covering the ground there, and also adding shrubbery and just building like the stations over the ground, covering the ground, etc. You guys catch my drift. I was quite proud of that, to be honest. I'm not gonna toot my own horn, but I'm pretty proud of that little witty bit of wordplay. It's getting late, guys. I've just recorded episode 17. I basically edited episode 17, 18, and 19 all at once, because I have like my folder of captured Planet Coaster footage, and I'm like, there's not that much footage left. I'm just going to drag all of this onto a single video track timeline in my video editing software, and we'll just edit it all at once, and then I'll just have a look at how much time the edited version of this footage constitutes, and then I can just divvy it up into appropriate length episodes. And I did all that this morning. And so I'm like, okay, well, it's fresh in my mind. When I was editing, I was like, oh, when I commentate over this bit, I could mention this. And it's fresh in my mind when I was editing all 3 episodes. I'm like, you know what? It would make the most sense to just commentate over all 3 episodes today, so that that I can actually keep things on track and talk about relevant things, which I know is ironic considering the fact that this whole conversation came from a fact that I didn't really know what to talk about for the rest of the video. But I think there were like, I knew to open up Christmas Island and Lingfield Park, Marriott Hotel and Country Club, and there's probably a few other things as well. But yeah, here I am just building the car park. The car park here, I'm not sure who uses it. I feel like premium paying guests can have a space in this car park. Lesser guests can just park in the main theme park car park at a discounted rate, and then the truly destitute peasants of society who still want to stay in this nice 4-star lakeside hotel, so you're probably still fairly well off, will park in the main off-site car park that I didn't build in this series because it doesn't exist. It only exists in the realm of imagination, and then they get the monorail into the actual area of land that on which Adventurewood sits, and then they disembark the monorail, get on board the bus to the hotel, and we promote green energy with public transit, and they're the real pog champs of oh, you thought I was belittling them? Because I was wrong. I have tremendous respect for them. So yeah, that's and I guess the real champs are the people that cycle to the hotel. You can keep your bike in the hotel for free if you want. Not that that would get charged for normally anyway. I'm just saying, if you want to get some points, you get free admittance. Get free admittance to the Wicked Twister ride if you do that. That's not official. That's not official canon. I've done nothing in this series that would indicate that was an actual thing in this park. But yeah, now I'm just building bits of stuff. I was connecting to phrase that a bit better, I was connecting the steam train maintenance shed to the road network around the parks to allow trucks and stuff to access the backstage of the steam train area. Because if the trains or carriages need to be shipped off to repair, or a new replacement version gets carted in, that's how we can put stuff take stuff off the tracks and put stuff on the tracks. And there's that maintenance shed there that's mostly there for aesthetics, but I like to think it's like functional as well. That's where the trains can sleep overnight, even though there's only space for one. And it's also near the spot that's accessible to the road network. So if a train is damaged, we can put it in there for storage, protect it from the elements until a truck comes along and carts it away. So that was that little spot there. Now I'm just adding I'm adding a flat roof to the top of this hotel here, as I'm sure you could tell, and did not need me to explain all of that. So, what did everyone get for Christmas? Because Christmas for me has not happened, because I'm terrible. It's probably not very good that I record these videos so far in advance, because then I can't talk about pertinent topics that might be happening in the real world. But yeah, Everyday Astronaut just got announced that he was going to the moon, and people were like, "Oh, Matt, aren't you jealous?" And I was like, oh, it's kind of cool in a way, because I remember for a while I was like the bigger channel. I was a bigger channel than Everyday Astronaut. I think he overtook me when we were both around 300,000 subscribers, and I'm like, to Beth, my girlfriend, who's probably watching this video with me right now. Proof watching it. Hello, Beth, again. Yeah, I was watching. I was like, isn't it weird that like at one point I was a bigger channel than him, and I decided to just carry on plodding along, doing my same thing and working full time, which is why I don't have as much time to make high effort videos. Well, my videos take high effort, but it's like to make documentary stuff like he does, and fly on location. It's just I can't logistically run a channel like Everyday Astronaut based on my current work commitments. And I was like, I wonder if I'd like just quit my job and just went at YouTube full time and changed focus to be like what Everyday Astronaut does. Would I be sitting on a starship right now, or like preparing to sit on a starship right now? And then the question came about as, are you jealous? And my answer was, absolutely not. You could not pay me to go on the starship to the moon. Not because I don't trust the starship. I mean, I don't trust the starship, but it's not because of that. It's that I would get very, very sick, I think. I wouldn't enjoy it. Like, one of the things I'm very privileged to have done in my life is I've actually been on a helicopter ride over the Grand Canyon you guys know where the Grand Canyon is. It's just off Las Vegas, Grand Canyon. I've taken a helicopter trip over the Grand Canyon, and I hated every second of it. And I hate the fact that, because it's such a privilege and it's such a wonderful experience that very few people get to experience. But I just hated it because I felt so sick the entire time. It turns out I get very, very sick in helicopters. I don't get sick in airplanes, but something about the helicopter movement, because it moves slower and it bobs up and down a bit, I just felt horrendous. Like, we landed in the Grand Canyon and they got champagne out, and I was like, I can't have any of this. I just need to go and lie down and close my eyes because I'm like about to faint. And there was another person with us who gets very, very motion sick, way more motion sick than me, and she was fine. So I was really bummed out about that. And I'm like, if that's me on a helicopter, what am I going to be like in space? They say that like a very high proportion of astronauts experiencing weightlessness for the first time vomit. So I just know for a fact, no ambiguity, that I will get very, very sick. I would love to go on Spaceship 2 or New Shepard. One of those, great, love it. But I wouldn't want to go on Dragon to low Earth orbit for like a few hours. I wouldn't want to go to the International Space Station. I don't want to go to the moon. I don't like change. I said earlier, I don't like these foreign places, including space, it would seem. But I would feel like, New Shepard or Spaceship Two, because it's such a small amount of time and weightlessness. I feel like I would like that opportunity. So guys, if you want to join my Patreon or sign up to my channel membership scheme and help me raise the 30 million to go on New Shepard, which is currently grounded for me right now because one of the New Shepard boosters exploded. The one that isn't crew rated, I should add, so not like a huge... Well, it's a big deal, right? Because they need to investigate this as to why this happened, but it's not like the crew rated one blew up. The crew rated one is a newer model. So, but yeah, I all that is irrelevant because I would rather go on Spaceship Two, which flew once with Richard Branson on it and then hasn't flown since for me. But I would like to go on that one because I feel like it's a longer flight overall. Like, I feel like they both have merits, right? And I'd really like to hear what you guys think in the comments. Would you go on Spaceship Two, the Virgin Galactic thing that's like the plane, or would you go on New Shepard? Because there are definitely pros and cons for both. New Shepard, I think the absolute biggest one is the fact it's a rocket. That must be such a unique experience, flying on a rocket ship that it wouldn't really compare to anything else. I'd love to have that opportunity to feel like what it's like ascending on a rocket. And it's got those really big, amazing panoramic windows. Really great. But at the same time, the Virgin Galactic ship is just so cool. It's just such a cool ship. Like, you fly up on an airplane and then it just drops you, and I bet you feel your stomach just drop when that plane drops from its carrier, and then it fires with its engine, then it accelerates from horizontal flight to near vertical flight, and it does the backflip and things. Like, it's a longer flight overall, so it's a longer experience. I just think that overall it's just cooler, and I think this stems from, like, this is why I love building SSTOs in Kerbal Space Program. It's just so cool to have like a spaceship that like flies up and then lands on a runway and can taxi back to its like hangar, rather than New Shepard, which is a capsule which needs to be picked up by some sort of crane or something and like together. It can't do anything on its own. Not that Spaceship Two can do much on its own, but it's just... Does that make sense? Do you guys get what I'm trying to say, or is none of this making any sense at all? I have no idea. It could be one or the other. Could go either way, as is the case for a lot of what I say in these commentaries. But I hope what I tried to get across came across in some form or another in this life or the next. So in conclusion, I'm very happy for Tim. Like, I sent him a DM on Twitter immediately going, "Yo!" And he was like, "I know, it's been like such a hard thing for me to keep this quiet." But yeah. I'm very happy for you, Tim. I don't envy you in the slightest. So, but good luck regardless. So those are my thoughts on the Dear Moon. And no, I don't want to go. But my video still stands that I did back when, like, Tim and Scott and everyone else was making their videos about why they should go on their Dear Moon flight. I made one as well, and my video just said I would love to be there filming the launch whilst having beer and whiskey in the high bay bar at Starbase and just film the launch through the window. That offer, Elon, I know you're a fan of this series, okay? And I know you're watching along with everyone who works at SpaceX, so please can you make this happen? Guys, tweet at Elon Musk, let Matt Lowne films Dear Moon launch from bar 20 whenever. That's the hashtag. And we can get this going. I would like to get drunk with Elon Musk in the high bay bar, filming the launch with Tim Dodd going to the moon. And that's my dream. I have very much more terrestrial based dreams compared to many of my contemporaries in the space YouTuber scene. But I'm not a space YouTuber. As you guys know, I'm a Planet Coaster YouTuber, first and foremost. It's my bread and butter. It's the mainstay of this channel, is Planet Coaster. I think we can all agree on that. So, as you can see, we're like, work is coming along really well on the hotel. Wow, Matt's talking about the footage again. Isn't that novel? But yeah, the hotel is largely complete. I still needed to have some sort of entrance bit, So I'm using these, they're like shop doors, boutique doors. I really like them anyway. It's a shame they're like locked to the grid rather than just you can't like freely place them. But I think overall they're like one of the best doors when building generic buildings in Planet Coaster. So that's that there. Just some very half-assed like covering of the brick for those window pieces either side, and then we're just going to add a sign. I went through a few different sign choices before finally settling on this rather underwhelming one, but I think it serves its purpose nonetheless. And we've got to add I'm adding some bordering at the top, but then I'm going to add a flag to let people know that they are in fact still on Christmas Island. JK, we are in Bing Bong Land still. There we are. And then I'm just like slowly for time because I need to talk about something very specific in like imminently, and that is the placement of some bricks. That's right. We want to cover up this person. Don't want to there because in the reality of this ride, it's all operated by the bus driver. So we don't want a person operating a control panel. So I covered her up with this, and I added a billboard that's going to have a ride departure thing on it. And I used a picture of a roundabout because that's got a very distinct, you can see where all the details are. So I can open the original image in Photoshop, see where all the parts of that image show up on the sign, and then I can add text so the text can be on specific parts of that sign. I hope that made sense. I was like, I saw it was happening on screen. I was like, I gotta talk about this quickly whilst it's still there. And then I probably didn't do a very good job overall. But hopefully what I wanted to get across came across okay. And there we are. We got the layout okay. But then I thought, oh, maybe we need to mirror that lower text because that's mirrored on the sign for some reason. And then I was like, oh, I want the shuttle bus to be like at the same sort of slant as the slant of the top of the sign. That looks pretty good now, right? But it looks a bit naff having the flat, plain yellow background. Well, it's a slight gradient yellow background, but it's largely flat yellow, especially when you look at it in-game. So I did some like grungy textures and like some shapes, and I think it looks, I don't know, I think it could look better. But it serves its purpose, I think. I do a bit of back and forth with the sign, but I think overall it looks okay, and it serves its purpose, but... yeah, I don't know. I was happy with that at the time, but now I look back and think, oh, I don't know about this sign. Actually, it doesn't look quite as good as I remembered it looking. But you know what? I think my willingness to change the sign I think my dislike level of the sign versus how prepared I am to actually go about changing it is such that I'm not going to change it. I just can't be bothered. That would have been a much easier way of saying that sentence, wouldn't it? Hey guys, I can't be bothered to change it, rather than saying that my willingness to alter this sign before the whatever. It's, like I'm struggling. You know, we've not got that much we've not got that much more time left in this video. We find ourselves meandering down. So let's move away from that subject now and talk about placing that exact same sign in the car park of the theme park. Actually, so we're not. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I got bored. I probably did, or just got distracted. We're going to build some benches. Now, for the record, you might have noticed this hotel is non-functional. You can build hotels in Planet Coaster that are functional, like guests can go in, stay the night, things like that. But this is an off-site hotel, so guests would have to walk here on the path. It would look weird them walking along that road and then getting run over by the Backstage tour bus. Or I can have it be a functional hotel and guests have to get the tour bus there. But I found that I've tried similar sort of things in the past and guests just won't get it. They won't get the bus. They won't get off at the right stop. And basically no one will use the hotel. So then I'll have to tweak the design to be able to support the in-game hotel functional pieces. And that would be a big compromise. And guests won't even really be able to use it anyway. So for the intention of for the purposes of this series, this is a non-functional hotel. It's just here for looks. Maybe there was an E. coli outbreak and it was indefinitely. There was asbestos. We tried to fix the problem as best as we could, but we just couldn't in the end. So we kept the bus running to keep up appearances, but we couldn't get the hotel open. And that's what I'm going with as the canon reason as to why that hotel doesn't have guests. Now we're just going to go ahead and build a similar style station building in the main entrance area of the theme park. Because again, most guests staying at the hotel are going to get the monorail in. The vast majority will get the monorail in. A few will park in the main theme park car park, and both of those groups will need to get the bus to the hotel. And indeed, all the other guests, in fact, because they're going to be guests at the park at the hotel itself, and they're going to need to get down to the park for their trip to the theme park and enjoy the ride, and they'll need to get the shuttle bus down as well. So it's all everyone needs to use this bus. So that's why that was the end of that sentence, in fact. So as you can see, I'm modifying this pathway. This pathway initially terminated with a little fountain, didn't it? But I've got rid of the fountain now. We're not having any natural beauty. Well, it's not natural, is it? But we're not having any nice, beautiful scenery and aqua. It's all going to be concrete, functional transit, communism, etc. And then we're going to just do some bricklaying. Now, one thing that I'm not going to do in this episode, guys, I mentioned earlier that this episode and next episode were going to be part of the same episode, but I was like, oh, it's just a bit long, innit? So that changed. But one of the things that changed was the fact that in this episode originally, I was going to work on the monorail track layout. But then that pushed the episode to be a bit too long, and then the bit I wanted to do after that didn't really fit into its own episode. It was too short. So then I thought, you know what? To heck with it. we will do the modification. We'll do the monorail modification next episode, as well as the other thing I need to do. So that's not going to be done this episode. But so yeah, if you're watching and writing in the comments, Matt, that monorail is an eyesore over this station, don't worry, I know. We will modify the monorail track layout next Well, maybe I do it this episode. I don't even remember, to be honest, guys. And I know I said that doesn't sound very good, does it? Because I said very early on in this video that I wanted to do this commentary fairly soon after editing it so that I could talk about the stuff, because I remember what happened. But as it turns out, evidently my memory is not the best, which is now not a great realization to have, because aside from editing Planet Coaster commentaries and doing Planet Coaster commentaries, well, not editing the commentaries. These commentaries aren't edited, if it wasn't obvious, but editing the footage together, recording the commentaries. In addition to all of that, I was doing lots of revision for my exam, which is next Friday, as mentioned last episode, which I just finished recording for me right now on the 10th of December, 2022. So it's now not a good mental realization that my memory perhaps is not very good and I'm going to fail this exam. Now, I one of these people that just panics about exams, and so I just do an excessive amount of revision. So I've actually, at a university, undergraduate and postgraduate level, I've done quite a lot of exams in both, and I've never failed a university level exam. I've never needed to reset. So hopefully that's a good omen that this one shouldn't be any different, but I also don't want to get too cocky or like, I'm amazing. I'm still going to do like loads of revision for this, and I just really, really hope today's revision was focused on red eye, because I'm basically, my whole exam is getting some more medical prescribing rights, so I can give out medicines that I wasn't able to give out before. So if someone comes in with like a big infection, I can give them like some broad spectrum antibiotics, things like that, which I couldn't normally dispense under my current prescribing rights. And it's just basically so I can do my job a bit more easily. I'm gonna keep running to like specialists for their prescriptions. I can do it myself. So that's the purpose. So I'm having to revise lots of diseases and medicines and pharmacology and pharmacokinetics, and it's all about as boring as it sounds, to be honest. But it's interesting at the same time. It'll be interesting and fun when I've done the exam and I can actually apply this to practice. But when I'm trying to cram everything and it's like, yeah, it's a bit of a slog. But hey, there's the view from the hotel, and there's the end screen. Yeah, a bit of a woe is me bit at the end of this video, and I apologize for that. But yeah, overall, guys, thank you for watching this video. Wish me luck. I'm going to need it. I hope you enjoyed the view from the hotel that's now obstructed by two brilliant videos. You should definitely click on and watch and like this video as well. Subscribe, and thank you for watching, and goodbye.